there's a lot of this, you have to take this stance, you have to wear this hat, you have to sort of have this brand image. Like, in my case, a lot of people are like, be the blind comedian representing the disabled community. I'm like, do you know how vast and do you know how unique each individual within that community is? And maybe you can just say, okay, there are a million blind people, but that's one thing that connects us. There are so many differences within those human beings that are different. I might meet a blind person and not at all get along with him or her, but then I might meet someone who's
Yeah.
completely sighted and have amazing conversations. So I think there's this problem of a few voices that get this attention as the voice for that community, and then that power kind of
Yeah.
either run with it or they do damage with it. And I think this is something which is very important that I recognize as well in what I wanted to say as we were talking
I've
before.
done both, I think.
Yeah, we've
I
done
think I've done
both. I
both.
mean, I
I've
didn't.
run with it, and I've
Yeah. No, what I was saying is I didn't want that label of the blind comedian because
yeah.
it's not just the responsibility, it's kind of claustrophobic, right? You feel like you have to stick within this fear of what you should be seen doing and not seen doing, pardon the pun, but at the same time it's
Sorry, I just got
yeah,
it.
no, but at the same time I think doesn't mean just because I can or you can, you just say the jokes or say insulting things, because that's something you said before we started recording, is you're a little bit more aware of what comes out of your mouth. Yes, of course, the primary focus being humor, making people laugh, but it also comes out with a little more um, thought to what you're saying, as opposed to when, in your early 20s, when you're doing anything to get attention and a laugh, right?
Yeah. Also, I think, I mean, we are also, we have to, the one thing that I think I can't stop thinking about is the changing of the landscape itself in the past decade. We sort of, we got onto the internet. There were people there. It was nice. Then in 2014, 15 is when, being on the internet becomes a job suddenly, where it's not just you talking about the food that your dad served you that day for lunch.
Mm.
Suddenly it's, brands are getting on the platform, and suddenly now your employers are looking at your tweets, and then suddenly now newspapers are like compiling tweets, and suddenly your tweet has become a news article. I genuinely was so taken aback by the economy of the online space and how
Yeah.
they dealt with people on social media, or how, because there would always be netizens say, and then there would be like 7 tweets, or like Twitterati says, and then there'd be like 12 tweets about what Twitterati and netizens are saying. And the fact that so much of what we were doing at that point in time was just us having fun, was actually mined for commerce from so many of these websites. It kind of blows my mind. It kind of blows my mind. And so now I know, I think maybe now, because I'm aware of that system, I have pulled back, because I'm like, you know what, I will not let my mindset or my personal life contribute to your economy. Even if it's like, I always, it little bit scares me when I see influencers mind their personal life, for content. But I'm like, dude, just be careful of this, please. I beg you, because
Yeah.
this could turn around and become a dangerous thing for you.
In some way, none of that worked for me, because I did try, trying to beat beat to the first punch when it comes to a topic, a trending topic, whether it's this ban or that ban, or this scam or that scam. And I never was good at it, because maybe in hindsight that worked out well, because a lot of guys who did that were trying to do the first joke on a topic and go viral, have gotten into trouble because they have to go back and delete the tweet because someone's like, oh, this is in this context, that's not working, what they said those many years back. But at the same time,
Yeah.
I think, it's interesting to talk to you, a person who's kind of gone on a journey where you've changed, you've taken different decisions which have led you down different paths. At the same time, you've got you collaborate with certain people that worked out, certain people that didn't work out. You've also taken certain leads and initiatives to help people. Like, I remember you being quite vocal to get women from different backgrounds on stage at one point. uh, but I think what it is that there's this sense that you are expected to sound a certain way. You're expected to play a certain role, whether it's the woman comedian who's shitting on men, or the feminist who's just pissed off in life, or the feminist who's a angry lesbian. I mean, I'm saying, this is not just you. This is even for, say, a guy from Bangalore or
None of the three, okay? I love men.
Yeah, no, and that's what I'm saying. That there's this thing that, and that's what I wanted to come to, because it kind of coincides with that point you mentioned when you were fearful of the silence or the lack of laughter, and that kind of leads into this position where you didn't get one afforded the basic respect on that stage for whatever reason it may be. Did it make you more aggressive as a human being, or at least a persona of being, people perceive you as more aggressive because you had to take the stance and you had to kind of fight for this respect?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, I think that it was a response to just the fear that I felt.
Mm,
It was a response to that. And then also the moment people started being like, "Oh, you are like this," I was like, "I'll show you how I am.
mm,
If you think I'm like that, I'll show you triple of that."
yeah.
And I think at some point I was just feeding into, and I remember having this epiphany about 4 years. No, it was like in 2017. That was the first year that I did Edinburgh,
Yeah,
and
that's we were together
I
there.
right, and that was the year that I was like, at this point I have lost so much direction in what I'm doing, because I am either catering to the people who are like, oh, she usually says this, and
Mm,
that's why we like her, or to the people who are like, she usually says this, and that's why we hate her. And so
yeah,
I'm catering to the haters and the lovers to equal extent. And I realized I don't know what I was talking about. I you know this the last 3 4 years just in terms of writing have been really eye opening. I've realized the confines of stand up comedy, as a craft. Uh, and maybe a large part of me thinks that it's not the all confining craft that I thought it was. I think that's what it's realizing that stand up comedy is everything, but it's also not everything, has been my realization in the
yeah.
past few years.
I think, there's almost this liberation that I similarly experienced, right? Because I was so caught up, and you kind of resonated with what I felt is when you did do badly on stage, you see yourself as a bad human being or as a failure, as your worth
Yeah,
completely goes down the
yeah,
shitter, right? But this label we call stand up, that I mean, I grabbed onto it and didn't let go. And it's just like, the tighter you hold on to it, the more it kind of tries to push you away. And I've realized since then, 2020 till now, you can be funny, and you can just have the label somewhere because it's something you can put on your website or something you can market yourself with. But uh, that's why I think what you just said, if it can be everything, yet it doesn't have to be as important as you make it out to be.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
the moment
And I
you
tell you,
Mhm. No, go on.
the one thing that also struck me is that I think why we were so up and down, why we fluctuated so wildly with our self respect and perception, was also because a bad show just, or like 7 bad shows in a row, didn't just mean that you're a terrible person. It also sort of affected your social connections,
Yeah,
right? Because there is, I mean, what a petty, embarrassing world we lived in.
yeah.
Was that, like, suddenly someone, if you do 7 shows badly, the 3 people, who you thought were your friends will suddenly stop talking to you because as you don't have as much social capital as them suddenly. Or, you're not as sort of this thing, and you're like, oh, I thought this was actually a friendship. But then you realize that, oh, now what is happening on stage is also affecting my off stage life. And then you have your own personal demons to battle. And so a combination of that, I think I mean, it was a combination of all those things.
Yeah.
Um, that sort of led to the wild spikes and low lows.
And it's, something as petty as, before the show, like especially in a club where, you get to interact with the audience before and after the show.
Yeah,
People will come and be like, I really like your work. And then after the show, if you've not done as well, which is, of course, relative, it's relative, but at the same time, you can't run away from it because there are 3 people on the lineup and one person gets a louder laugh. It is what it is. But the worst is when the same
yeah.
person comes and says, they walk right past you, go to the person who got more laughs, and they're like, "Why don't you join us at our table for a drink?" And you're like, "You mother," it's just, and I know people are like, "Yeah, you're as funny as your last show. You're as funny as you got to have." But at that point, you're just like, "Son of a bitch!" That
Oh my God, I love that. I mean, I don't love that, but it always cracks me up. Like, when you go to a show and then Like I did this, I did like a show, I think last year. That was my last corporate show. Because I went on stage and they like greeted me with the wildest of applause. They were like, yeah, fuck. And I'm like, I got this.
Yeah.
And then when I walked off stage 30 minutes later, they were like,
Pol-
cool.
polite applause.
I just, I felt horrible.
Right.
But I was like, how did I get on stage? And like, how did it happen that they were more fans of me before I started doing my stuff?
Oof, that
And they,
burns. That
you
burns.
know, it's so hurtful. It's so hurtful, but so funny,
But at least Aditi, it
but
wasn't an
hurtful.
audience for you which walked away because it started raining and you didn't realize, right?
Wait, when the fuck was this?
I did
That's
the,
so funny.
at a corporate many years back. It was the three of us, Praveen, Sanjay, and I. We go to this. Which company was it? I think it was um, one of those Bosch, one of those things, and it was an outdoor event, and they had covered the
Mm,
stage or
yeah,
semi-covered the stage. And Sanjay goes up, he's hosting. I go on, and of course, and then I'm talking, and it starts off okay, I'm getting some laughs, and then it wasn't like thunder and rain like that heavy, but it was
yeah.
sprinkling rain, right? Which and I'm going on, and I'm just like, this is not going as well. It started off okay, and then Sanjay like, buddy, they've all gone in, buddy. I'm like, fucking someone should have told me. And not even just
That's so
quietly
messed
moved
up.
on. I don't know how I didn't hear it. They moved the chairs. The entire event has relocated. I'm going on, going, your punchline needs to be changed.
Yeah, you're going back to your notes and being like, I wonder what didn't work. Oh yeah,
Correct.
the audience was not sitting there. That's what
Correct.
didn't work.
Yeah. Open bar, rain, and audience missing. I think that might be three
Whoa, what
reasons.
a crime.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, like how does a self-respecting person climb out of that hole of self-hatred?
Yeah.
I I
At
do
least
not
cut my mic,
understand.
right? At least the event guy should have cut my
Yeah.
mic. I would have heard that. Like, oh, no, do you think things have changed now? Because you mentioned the 180, which you've experienced a
Yeah.
lot more women in the comedy um, career, comedy kind of space. And, I spoke to Azim on the podcast about this. I spoke to a few other people about this. And, for various reasons, the inputs have been interesting because each person now has kind of made peace depending on where they are in their career, or each person has explored these tools in different ways, whether it's the Instagram reels or whether it's the YouTube phenomena. But from you know a perspective of getting your jokes out there, right? One is, of course, do you do it as a marketing tool or do you use it now as a career tool? How is your
Ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah, because the thing is, it's from what I've heard over the past few conversations with comedians who are still actively out there. Um, sorry, I apologize for that's my dog. And I think that's the thing, right? Because even in that space, right? Like just like the live shows, just like how there you go from city to city, you go from festival to festival. There is a different career path there, and in India, that is limited because of the number of rooms, as you mentioned, the number of venues
Yeah.
that are actively doing shows week in week out. That's almost zero now, except for maybe a couple in the country.
Yeah.
But now it seems like just like how we have an offline life and an online life, there's almost like an offline comedy and an online comedy.
Yeah.
And the online comedy seems to be where everyone is. And it seems to be a hybrid of what stand up is because it's no longer long form, it's short form, unless, of course, you're popular, your fans come for you, and then you put it behind a paywall. So, where have you been with this? How has it been for you? And where are you now?
So, I've actually been very lucky. I sold two specials to Netflix, one to Amazon Prime UK, and then, um, I managed to. I mean, and then my last 10 videos came out on Amazon Mini TV, which is a platform also native to Amazon, the
Hmm.
Amazon ecosystem, right? And so I've been very lucky as far as that is concerned, as far as selling my stage life online is
Right,
concerned.
right,
I've been very, very lucky. Having said that, I am such an old person when it comes to getting on like everyone's like do reels every day, and I'm like, you know what? I don't have the myself like my self image, my skin is too terrible for me to get on like a camera every day for me to like be like, hey, I'm gonna do some mindless thing with three puns in it.
right, right,
Is
right.
something that I can't bring myself to do. And I've seen people, do it, and sort of like it again. It's all this like I I I keep thinking to myself, I will not dance for the algorithm.
Yeah.
And yet, that is what you need to do. That is what you need to do. Is you need to dance for the algorithm. There is space for the long form storytelling.
Mm.
There is space for all these things, but it is now largely fueled by what's happening online. So like if you do amusing sketches online, I know that like a bunch of influencers, if they put up a show, they will sell out in 5 minutes. What will they do live? That they will decide. But you
Mm.
know they will sell out in 5 minutes, whereas a comedian that's been working for a year on a special will still have to like be like, oh, hey guys, I'm working on this show, please come and watch, please come and watch, please come and watch. So I think that
Mm.
they're two different beasts almost. And um I am a terrible tamer of beasts, is what I've realized when it comes to the online
Yeah.
space.